I'm Andy Erwin, and this is the Storytellers. My guest today is the definition of the word rockstar. And when we were introduced earlier this year, we became fast friends. And the thing I love about him is every square inch tells this intricately told story. And so he is a storyteller at heart, has an amazing redemption story himself. You know him from the heavy metal band that sold over 60 million albums. Would you welcome, from the band Korn, Brian Head Welch.
I feel like, I've known you like less than a year.
Yeah.
And every time I'm with you, I feel like I've known you for a long time,
Totally.
And it's just easy.
I love that about you.
So good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. It was our mutual friend, Jeff Mosley. We were at this, Dave Ramsey has, the financial guy, has this, the best place to go meet a rock star. It has this thing called I think it's called Night of Extraordinary Gentlemen or something, some weird thing. And he invited me to it, and I was like, not knowing who was going to be there. And I walk in, it's the most eclectic blend of people that I've ever seen. I was like, I don't even know. Like, these people don't feel like they fit in a room. Like, was that your first time at that thing?
It was. And the funny thing is, like, anybody that smokes cigars, I can't hang out with them at nighttime when they smoke because my hair, it's like a sponge for
just
smoke.
absorbs
it. Absorbs and so I don't like to smell cigars, so it smells my hair up like cigars until I wash it again, which is every 2 years.
Right.
Just joking. I wash my hair like a normal person, but so I almost didn't go. And then they said free food, and I was like, I'm there. So I'm glad I did, though, because I met some cool people. You, one of them, and it was very, very cool event. I'd go back.
Yeah, it was. So our mutual friend Jeff Mosley is a record label guy. Introduced us, and it's like, he comes over to me. He's like, hey, do you know Head? And I was like, well, I know who he is, but I don't know him. He's like, you guys need to meet because you guys would be best friends. And I'm like, all right, deal. And he's like, I think he came up with some excuse about, you got to go pitch a movie of doing a movie of his life. I was like, well, life is great, but I'm really more interested in knowing who he is.
Right. And I was like, I don't want to do a movie. So it was perfect. Like, I want another from you. You want another from me.
How did you land in Nashville? Like, what made you pick Nashville as a destination?
Well, it was a thing where I went through. So I met the Lord in 2005.
Right.
Got all these dreams and visions of what I thought I wanted to do. I guess they were vain imaginations, I thought, but I found out. But I wanted to do like music about my faith as a solo artist, but also like bring people to the Lord and evangelize. So I wanted music, and I wanted to do it all, and it just didn't work out the way I thought. And started a record label in Phoenix, and in 2007, 2008, it was gone. The financial crisis. It was mainly real estate, but a lot of issues. And so I got in over my head. I had like 6 lawsuits against me.
Oh, wow.
And I had partners that kind of disappeared.
Yep.
So everyone's like, sue the rock star.
Oh, my God.
So I was in over my head, and I got a new manager that decided that he would help me untangle. And he lived in Nashville. So I moved here, and I went through bankruptcy, Chapter 11, downtown Nashville.
Wow.
Got humbled. I felt like a failure, but I was given a new beginning because the bankruptcy code is for people that, they invented it for good people that had bad luck,
Yeah.
And so that's what happened to me. I felt like I was a good person. I just got in over my head, made some stupid decisions. So Nashville was a place for rebuilding. So right when I moved here, I was through my bankruptcy within like a year and a half, and I've been rebuilding ever since. It's been awesome.
That's fascinating, man. Yeah. Well, with your story in particular, like, I remember when I first saw, it was that I Am Second video that you did, and I've watched that for the first time, and there was just a palpable power. I'd seen a lot of the other ones they had done, but yours just had this palpable power to it. And when I met you, I just said, your body obviously says you've lived a lot of life. but your eyes are just so full of life. Like I've never felt somebody like I've could really embody the word redemption so well. So tell me a little bit, like with your story, like when you got to that point where God really kind of grabbed a hold of your soul. It was a pretty like out of body supernatural experience, wasn't it?
I was just gonna go there because when you said you saw that life in there, like I was a walking dead man. I was a walking shell with emptiness. There's nothing filled in me except emptiness, towards the end.
Yeah.
It wasn't all like gloom and doom, like getting up to there. But the last couple of years I was in the band, 2003, 2004. I mean, I was teetering on the suicidal ideation. It's like, what's the point, And so to have the massive, dramatic, like Paul talks about in the New Testament about, he's trying to be humble, but he's talking about himself. He says, I know a man,
Yep.
Who was caught up,
second heaven, yeah.
And I didn't have that crazy of an encounter, but like I met the real Jesus, like in my house. I didn't see him in a vision or like in a form, but it was just as real, almost as real.
Mm-hmm.
And I was looking for him, like walking around in my house because I was instantly like filled with this supernatural life. And that's what you saw out of my eyes. I was like filled with the Spirit and just filled with just a tangible, just forgiveness from him. And I had been like the worst of the worst that you can imagine. To me, I was like I tried to get as evil as I could, and not maybe in front of people, but like in closed doors, like with the pornography and the just debauchery and alcohol, drugs, everything. So that's how I got into faith, and that's how I met the real Christ. I love in the scriptures it says that Jesus says that he will manifest himself to us. And so I didn't play like going to church and trying to do all the steps to get sober and stuff. I for some reason I met him, like really met him.
So like when you have this radical kind of like caught up in this spiritual moment where you really connect with the real Jesus, like, and for you, it was an instantaneous like switch that got flipped where you were just death to life. Like it was, when you went back to the band and you first kind of walked back in and started trying to explain what had happened to you, like what was that initial reaction, of you starting to interact with a lot of the people that you ran with at that time?
It was awkward to say the least. Bro, I didn't know how to process it all because I'm like, I felt in my mind that they would trust me.
Yeah.
And I could be like, dude, okay, the Bible says that it pours God into you if you come to him and surrender everything. And it says that, you can know Jesus. It's not just a thing where, he raised from the dead 2,000 years ago, and if you believe in him, you won't go to hell. I go, you can actually meet him and be filled with the Spirit. And I thought they'd be like, no way. Dude, we trust Brian. Like, come on, we want this. But it just doesn't work like that, your own family, your closest friends that you've known since childhood, they'll all look at you sideways.
Yeah.
God has to do it. God has to do a supernatural revelation work that they will come in and accept what you've been. So it was awkward. And I was just I was very zealous because I found the meaning of life. And people were like, it's just a phase, bro. You're coming off of drugs. Don't worry. It's like, it's not going to be like this in a year. I promise you. And I'm like, dude, you don't even know. Like I found the meaning of life. I found why I'm breathing. I found out I don't even care if I do music anymore. I just want to know. Jesus says I want to, like, eternal life is knowing the Father. I don't have to wait till I die to know. I want to know now. And so I just dove into it. And once I thought about it, I was like, not everybody, but a lot of the guys, most of the guys were probably, sex, drugs, and rock and roll then.
Right.
There wasn't even a concept in my mind that I could stay in the band. Plus I had a 5-year-old daughter at the time.
Right.
And I was trying to hide being a scumbag drug addict from her, And so I was like, dude, I'm leaving everything and I'm going to be a dad. So that's what I focus on. But it was very awkward.
Was it pretty instantaneous that Korn was like something you needed to close a door on, or?
For about 2 weeks, I'd say, I was just new, I'm like, I'm so grateful to be off of drugs, but I didn't want to be that guy who was like, thanks for cleaning me up. I'm going to go live my life now. I just gotten to that point for 2 weeks, just going, what should I do? Tried to get advice from the new, like the pastors and whatnot. And they were like, a couple of them were like, well, God's got to show you. And then some of them were like, man, just go back. Go back. And I remember I was at a friend's house and he was telling me the same thing. You should just stay in there and just shine your light.
Yep.
And as he was telling me, it was like supernatural. He's telling me one thing and I'm like, go home and leave everything and follow me.
Wow. Dude,
and I was like,
that's awesome.
And he looks at me, he's like, what's going on? And I was like, I felt like God just told me
the opposite of what you're saying.
Or maybe I just said, I gotta go home.
Uh-huh.
And I went home and didn't even like think or call anybody. I just went home, got on my computer and went, guys, I love you so much. I'm quitting. God came into my life. He showed me he's real. I'm going to follow him. That was it. It was that simple. So I was double-minded for weeks until this guy was talking to me and I just went, phew. I woke up and I was like, this is my path.
Man.
We were talking about, did we mention the odd duck thing?
I love the odd duck thing. Like you are an odd duck and I love you
duck.
for it.
Thank you. But
you just brought this container of I wasn't sure because you kept saying it was vomit and I wasn't really sure if it actually was vomit.
Dog vomit.
Until you started telling me the ingredients. And I'm like, it was this health food, like frozen stuff, and I'm still not sure what's in my fridge.
Did you think I was playing a practical joke on
I
you?
didn't know.
Vomit?
I didn't know. I didn't know if it was some sort of like gift that is like a high gift in rockstar world or what it was. But I brought you dog vomit.
Yes,
but no,
dude, you don't know. This is from like 1961
Yep.
of Elvis Presley's dog from Memphis, and it's real vomit.
Yeah, exactly. I thought
so.
it was a gift.
Health food shake.
Yes, it was a health
that
food
looked like dog vomit. So yes, we started the conversation. Can I look at the camera?
Yes, you can.
Well, we started the conversation that I'm an odd duck like that. So. I was in Korn when I decided I was going to leave. I told them I'm leaving, and then I was like, "How am I going to tell the fans?" And I got this idea and this invite to go to the Bakersfield, California, where I lived at the time, radio station. So I told everybody. I did a small interview, and I was like, "Hey, I'm going to tell everybody this Saturday why I'm leaving Korn. I'm going to tell you why. So I'm going to be at this church.
Right.
Come see me at this church and I'll tell you everything going on." Next thing you know, MTV, Yahoo, CNN, Fox, like everyone you could think of, because it was such a the Christian market was different back then. It wasn't like crossover like it is now. And so they were like, is this a joke? Is this and they set up behind the church, and I just told my testimony, and then so I started like that passed, and there was a lot of protection that the church wanted to do for me. They were like, we got to watch for Brian because he's a new baby Christian, and there's all this media trying to do interviews with him. He's going to make a fool of himself, and so they're trying to protect me. But in the meantime, God was trying to move fast with me, and so I ended up at this Pentecostal church, and they're running around, shouting and stuff, and I needed the supernatural.
Yeah.
Now I'm not telling I'm not a Pentecostal, but I needed deep spiritual work in me to get healed. And I have told people with prophetic gifts, they were like, God has you on a fast track. Like they didn't even know each other, and I kept getting, God's going to do fast work with you.
Wow.
So, and so I went there and I got filled with the Spirit, as they say, and I went back and told the first church what happened, and they were like, "Don't go to that church; they're bad, and that's evil what they're doing." And so it was really weird. Where I'm a rock star, and not even just a rock star, but I'm in my hometown as a rock star. So it's not like if I'm in LA, who cares?
Yeah,
I'm like low on the totem pole.
Bakersfield.
In Bakersfield, I'm like, we're like music royalty in back then,
Right.
Nowadays, it's like whatever, but it's just like it was a huge deal.
Yep.
So it was crazy trying to navigate that. This church trying to protect me. This church, helped me grow. But, and then one day, this is awesome. God is just, he's so awesome. If you just have eyes to see and want that real close relationship, anybody could have it. Because I don't, just because I had supernatural experience, it doesn't mean, I'm special. If someone's watching, they didn't.
Yep.
But that's how he birthed me into it. And I believe he does stuff like that. And then people tell their stories so that we get hungry. And we're like, if you want it, you can have it if you go after it.
Right.
Jesus said, let it be done to you according to your faith. He told the disciples that. So hunger, I believe, gets results. But back to the story, I was in my house. I was in church, church drama. And I saw there was this bird one day got stuck in my garage. And it's like getting dark and it's flying. And I get a broom and I'm like, get out, birdie, you're free. Get out. Get out of my garage. For an hour, it's going back and forth. And the garage door's wide open.
Yeah.
And it won't get out. And I instantly knew. That's like you in this town going from church to church.
Man.
I want you to leave. The next week I had my house on the market. Like, I was like, I heard that obedience is very like powerful to God. And I was so zealous,
Right.
They said delayed obedience is disobedience or something like that.
Yeah.
I heard somebody say. So when I had that understanding, just like I had the understanding to leave Korn, it was like move out of this town immediately. I was like, house is on the market next month. And I was gone. That's when I went to Phoenix and tried to build this new calling I thought I had in music. And we did have a film studio too. We were doing,
I didn't know that.
but we didn't do much, so you wouldn't have heard about it. But I'll tell you more after this. But yeah, so.
Well, I think the two things that I love about you. Well, three. Number one, you're very authentic. Secondly, odd duck. We're going to put that in the list now. I like that you're an odd duck. Yes. And then the third thing is you are a storyteller, and I love listening to your stories. And you pick up on the subtleties of God's storytelling in your life, like that situation with the bird in the garage. Like,
Right.
Like, for you, like I know you've got your tattoos everywhere. They kind of tell a story. Did they tell one story before you met Christ, and then a lot of them that are the newer ones have deep spiritual meaning now? Like what has been the story of the evolution of your tattoos?
The cool thing is I barely had any before I met Christ.
Really?
I got 90% of them after.
Huh.
In fact, I went straight to the tattoo shop about a month after, and I got Jesus put on my hand. Then I got love, I think, and I got these, I started reading like the book of Acts, and the commentary was like a spark of a flame. The Holy Spirit started spreading, to the disciples. And then I was like, oh, that would be cool to have a match.
Dude, that's awesome.
Spark into a flame on my hands. That's why I did that. And so majority of this stuff is after I had issues, which I got when I got divorced.
Yep.
I had this one where it's see all the muscle tissue.
Yep.
And this guy is taking off his skin.
Yep.
So to me, it was like I got a new tattoo look. So it's like,
it's brand new.
It's all smudged.
It's
so
an
I have to peel
anchor?
it off. It's an anchor, yeah. But and that's all I had. So everything else was after I became a Christian.
Dude, I love that.
Because people were like, "Oh man, I got comments like, I'd rather he would have died on drugs than became a Christian. I hate Christians, all this crazy stuff."
The former fans and stuff?
Yeah. It was brutal. And then everyone thought I was going to be this like, copycat Christian.
Right.
And I'm just like, man, I'm just going to be myself. I want to be myself. And I started getting ink.
Well, with your sobriety, you talked about like kind of hard fought sobriety. And I love that with your recovery journey. And we've talked a lot about recovery. I'm all for recovery. You talked a little bit about God delivered you from drugs, but then alcohol became kind of an issue to battle. Like what was it that really kind of, where did you find your serenity when it came to your sobriety, and where did the victories kind of come?
So when I had that encounter in my house, I got flooded with just, everything that Christ is to me. Like it was love, There was a deep peace, like the shalom, like the Hebrews talk about, just a weighty, just humility. And it was just like kindness. It was like overwhelming kindness I felt out of his, just emanating whatever from the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
And everything. So I was instantly addicted to that. Like I wanted to feel that because I was in such turmoil. So from that encounter, I quit everything. I quit drinking. I quit. It was the stupidest move ever, but I quit my depression meds because I was like,
wow,
God can heal me. I don't need it. Cold turkey. Like I was taking 40 milligrams. I was like, I don't need them no more. And it was cool for like a few months, but then I went down hard. But
yeah.
But I was I was on the spiritual high, and I quit drinking, I quit drugs, everything.
Huh.
Now, when I talked to you about the alcohol, it was 10 years later.
Wow, I didn't realize that.
Because I started hanging out with some new friends, and they were drinking wine with communion, whatever. It was like believers and stuff too, and I was like, I could drink, I could have some wine, you know. I'm with good company. I'm not going to get out of control. So I took one glass, and then my tour started, and then my drummer drinks, and I was like, I don't think there's nothing wrong with like a couple glasses a night. Right?
Yeah.
And then I got home like 2 weeks later from tour, and I'm like, okay, no more than one bottle a night. So it just kept climbing. And then next thing you know, I'm downtown drinking whiskey shots and throwing up in the morning, and I'm just praying through it. I'm like, I'd get drunk, and I was always that solo drinker.
Yeah.
I'd like go into a bar downtown or whatever, be getting drunk, and then someone come up to me and be like, dude, are you Head from Korn? And I'd be like, yeah, what's up, man? I'd just talk to them for a second, and then as soon as they turn around, I'm like, whew, I'm out to the next bar. I just want to be left alone. I'd be an alcoholic. But I would get drunk and be like, Lord, I shouldn't. I don't know why I'm drinking. Why can't I be a responsible drinker, you know?
Yeah.
I'm going to quit next week, I promise. And then I couldn't quit. And then I just remember one day I was on a rooftop bar in this country. This, you know, everybody plays country. He's up there with acoustic guitar. This guy, probably like 25-year-old dude. And he starts singing. You know, sometimes they'll throw in like Christian songs and pop songs and rock songs and Southern or classic rock songs and everything. It's a big variety, right?
Yep.
He has this like song, I forgot what song it was, but every word, it was like the Lord took the word and used it, and it was like, this is me speaking to you right now. Dude. And I was like, had a beer in one hand and my glasses, and I'm just like, tears start pouring down. I'm like trying not to cry.
That's awesome.
And it was just like the most loving, that peace, shalom feeling I felt before. And he was like, you're done. Just go home, you're done. And I went home and I was done.
Man.
Never drank again. And that was years ago. But I think I got a little cocky where I was like, with alcohol, I didn't think I could fall into drugs or alcohol again. Yeah. So now I'm on like, I don't have really urges, but I'm like, it can happen next week. So I just got to remember that.
One day at a time.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. You know, as you, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I love people that are on a recovery journey. You know, when it comes to actors, I particularly love working with what I call benevolent skeptics, and people that are kind of on a journey and maybe they haven't really discovered that shalom, inner peace connection with Jesus yet.
Yeah.
But they're on a journey. And I love finding people that are speaking the same language, and usually the ones that come up and talk about their addiction issues or being in an AA or that type of thing. Anytime they talk about that, like, and I read it in the trades and read that so-and-so is talking about just getting out of rehab, I instantly try to figure out, how do I book a meeting with them? And there's been actors and actresses where I sit down with them and I just be like, I'm not here to pitch you anything. I'm just here because I heard your story. And as a Christian that tells redemption stories, I want you to know that your story has value. And we want to be a safe place for you.
It's amazing.
It's just a place of connection.
Yeah.
I've noticed, like with you, because of you've been vocal about your journey out of drugs and alcohol, like people that have just come up to you. We were at lunch the other day, and I'm sitting with you, and the waiter or somebody that worked at the restaurant comes by. And
how cool was that, right?
It was such a cool moment. He came by, he showed you his 1-year chip for being 1 year sober from drugs.
Yeah.
And it seemed like, and he was just so excited because that's what you represented to him. Like, do you get a lot of that?
Yeah. And I love to listen to him too, because I tell my story so much that I still feel it when I tell it again. So I'm not going to say I'm sick of telling my story, but I really like to listen to other people's stories. So, and I love like YouTube and everything because I still get people like, I just saw this interview. I just saw you and it changed my life. And it's something I recorded in '08,
Man.
you know, like I'm second recording in '08.
That's great.
People are telling me like, it changed my life yesterday. You know, I'm like, I'm sitting at home, maybe having a bad day. And this video is up there and God just uses me, you know,
But
I'm one of like millions.
Yeah, and I was going to accuse you of planting these people that just kept showing up when we were hanging out. But then I came over to your house. I come over to your house just to hang out for a few minutes. And some dude drives up from Georgia with his family, gets out and is like telling you his story about how he was, you know, he told me his story. I guess you had met him before, but he told me his story how he was like one of the guys that hated you for, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He's like, I went online and I heard that Head had given his life to Jesus or had become like a Christian or holy roller. And he's like, I went on to kind of blow him up and just, you know, kind of just, you know, cuss him out online.
Shout out to Doug Naden.
Yeah, that was incredible.
Bro, that's my friend. No, that's my friend.
So crazy.
He was mocking me. He's like, this MF, this is what a freaking clown, you know.
Yeah.
And he was like addicted to acid and all this stuff. He was a functioning drug addict. And he's like, oh, it's just stupid. And he starts watching it. And he's like, what an idiot, you know. And then he sees my eyes, like you said.
Yep.
And he sees like how I'm like all in. And he knew it. And he's like, why? How could this idiot be doing this? And he keeps watching. And then he gets the thoughts in his mind, like, how can that book change you like that? And then he's like, what's in that book? Like, I got to find out what's in that book. Why would it make someone change like that? And then that's what started it. And, you know, him and his wife they're open. They were into some dark stuff, you know?
Wow.
And so now they're like great friends. He came and 2007, I was doing a book tour. And it was at the record store, some record store, and he walks up and he's like, you saw, he's tall. He's a big biker looking.
He's intimidating.
You're intimidating, Doug. And he's shaking.
Yeah.
And my manager at the time, like, he gets closer to me because he doesn't know like if it's a crazed fan, you know?
Right.
Because Dimebag Darrell happened, you know, with Pantera. Mm-hmm. Crazy fan shot him in the nightclub in 2004. And this was 3 years later. You never know.
Never know.
And so my manager gets closer and he's like, hey, man. And I noticed he had tears in his eyes. And he's like, I just want to tell you, you changed my life. And told me the whole story. I hated you. I mocked you. I thought you were trash. And it was just like how open he was, you know. It was beautiful to see. Like, because what does the New Testament start with? It starts with the last person that you or I would choose to write 3/4 of the New Testament. Paul.
Yeah.
He was Saul, and he confessed in the Bible, I was persecuting Christians to their death. And God chose him, the last guy that any human would choose. But God chose him. And just to see, like, fast forward to Doug, you know, someone that was just a hater, you know, persecuting. Boom, his lights get turned on, and God's still doing the same things all these years later.
Dude,
you'll never see that in any other faith.
Dude,
you'll never see
got chills.
Someone so against it, hate it, and then wakes up and he's like, "Oh my gosh, it's real." That's the miracle. Death to life. You'll never see the miracles like that, like you do with Christ.
With your music, for me, my main job for a long time was I became a rock music video director. It was my thing. And so directed videos for Skillet and Red and a bunch of other people.
I probably couldn't afford you back then. So I was getting to like the $5,000 guys.
Well, I would have been honored to do one of yours. But we had a lot of fun. I just got good at blowing things up. In fact, like if we couldn't figure out how to end a music video, we just blow something up. So like
Right.
the last video that we did for Skillet was for the song Hero, and the treatment read, it said, the band comes out, things blow up. It starts to rain, more things blow up. It stops raining, everything blows up. The
Yes.
end. And Cooper was like, yes, that one. And then,
That's like instant awards.
it was great. It was great. But I remember going one year for one of the Christian award shows, and I think it was the Dove Awards. It was at the Grand Ole Opry, sitting on like the third row, and the band Red came out and they played "Death of Me," and you came out and jammed with them, and it was like,
Were you in the front?
I was
or
like,
towards the back?
I was like, yeah, third row. Like I was
Who were
right.
you with?
I brought my dad.
Yes, I remember you told me.
And so my dad.
And was he just going?
I looked over. I think he went into like a some sort of like seizure. And like I look over at him, and he's at the end. His hair is blown back. He looks like Doc from Back to the Future. I just leaned over. I was like, you know, Dad, I actually directed the music video for that song.
Was he like?
But that was my first. Like I got to see you like in that environment. So for you coming out of Korn, and then trying to find like, where do I fit now? Where's my lane? What was that transition trying to find musically? Like, I want to do what I know how to do, which is rock, but like how do I find my voice? Where do I fit? Did you struggle with some of that
After I left the band?
after you left Korn?
Oh,
And
yeah.
you're trying to figure out like, where do I fit?
Big time. I have these dreams and, like I said, visions that I think were vain imaginations. I thought I was going to be this big shot, like evangelist, and I think I meant well, but it was a mixture
Yeah,
of, just thinking too highly of myself or whatever. But yeah, I didn't know where to fit in, and then I started doing some Christian stuff, and I felt like I wanted to be a voice because my story, and I wanted to. So I tried to sing, and I just didn't love it, but I thought I was supposed to, and I was trying to learn how to get better, and I just never got that good. Some people are just born singers, and you just know it, and then there's guitar players that try to sing, and it.
yeah,
It's just not their main gift.
Yeah.
So that was it. But I got into the Christian market a little bit, and then like Christian rock market, which was really small. But even that, they were like, I had calls with radio stations, and one guy just like belittled me. He was like, "Why do you sing about such dark stuff? Where's your gospel message?" And I'm like, well. And I wanted to like go off on him, but I'm trying to be Christ-like,
right.
And he's just belittling me. And I'm like, well, I've suffered a lot of depression in my life, addiction, and I'm singing about that, being stuck in that, like begging for help to get out. Like, have you read the Psalms, dude?
Yeah,
And he just like, so it was just like going up again, in that market. I really didn't fit in.
And that's where I think like is we've like in faith film. Everybody kind of has talked about the early years, the cheese, and the cheesy films, and I was part of the problem too. No stones to throw there, but I think what makes a cheesy film is not the faith and is not the Christian message. It's not redemption. It's not any of those things. What makes it cheesy is Christians are very uncomfortable with the struggle. They don't want there to be conflict. They don't want tension. They don't want struggle. And if you look at the Bible, it's filled with struggle because you can't have redemption without struggle. Were there points of connection within that community that pulled you in? What were those years like for you?
There was a lot of encouraging friends who I still have today, like Red. Red let me open for them. I had like very little to offer their tours, and they were thriving, man. They were going on Tonight Show, Conan O'Brien.
Yep.
It was around the Death of Me time, maybe
Feed the Machine, that area?
Yeah, and then Until We Are Faces or something.
Yeah.
Did you do any videos on that record?
They all blur together at this point.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm sure the answer is yes.
But they hit #1 on Billboard, and they were on all these talk shows and everything. And I was touring with them through all that, so I got to see like all their success, and it was amazing. And so I had some real amazing supporters. And but then I had those that just didn't feel I was real, and I'm trying to reach my old fans at the same time as be a follower of Christ. So it was, dude, it was like, it was hard. I didn't know where I fit in.
What kept you from getting jaded or thrown in the towel? What kept you, on the journey? When I think to somebody that's super excited about their faith and wanting to be different and then be misunderstood.
Psalm 91, I'd say, just a dwelling in the secret place. Resting in the shadow of the Almighty, just going into intimacy, putting on the worship music. I would go and get alone with God, and I would meditate, I would pray, I would read the scriptures, and I loved books. I would read a lot of deeper spiritual books.
What books were the ones that like made the biggest impact on you?
Back in that season, it's crazy because I'm this like, darker music type of guy, playing that music. But in the meantime, I'm like reading these amazing books of these people that ran in like the 1700s and stuff. And they were like getting so persecuted, thrown in jail, and like they'd have lice and have to sleep in their own urine and stuff. And they would be talking about the beauty of the Lord and the spiritual experiences they were having in the midst of it. And so my trials weren't near as bad as them, but they brought me comfort that God, and he would just pour his spirit into me, and I would feel like that peace again, the shalom, the love, the deep like humility and beauty of the Lord, just like in my emotions and mind and stuff. So right when I'm about ready to throw in a towel, or I felt like, he would meet me in just the sweetness, and it would strengthen me to keep going.
Then all of a sudden the day comes where God starts impressing on you that you need to go back to Korn. How did that situation come up? And did it scare you a little bit when you felt like that was where you were being led to go back to?
Yeah, because there's one or two times where I'd reconnected with a couple of the guys, and we talked about that, and I actually, thought about it and prayed about it, and it just wasn't something that I felt like was supposed to happen, So in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, no, never. But what I think, what the message was to me was it's supposed to be not yet, because when it happened, I wasn't looking for it. My daughter, when she was 5 or 6, that with all the drugs and then me going to church and everything, but she was the main focus of like getting me to leave. Like she didn't, it was obvious, just me looking at her saying she needs a parent because her mom was out of the picture. And so I left, because of her. But fast forward 2012, she's a teenager now. She's starting to get into System of a Down, and not really Korn because that's her dad's band, but a little bit. She started liking a couple songs. And, and I'm like trying to navigate that going, because some of the music can be darker emotionally, and I don't want her to go down this.
Sure.
And she started battling with actually some dark emotions, and, all the girls, the drama, and then self-harm. Started going through that stuff, and I'm like, you shouldn't be listening to that music. It's not gonna. But at the same time, I'm trying not to control her. I'm, just being a parent.
Right.
And so she asked me, I want to go see Korn. And I'm like, I don't. That's my past. It just hurts too much, I don't know, just be awkward. And she talks me into it. And I'm on tour with POD by that time. I'm like, I called Sonny up, and I was like,
Sonny's great.
Yeah, right? I was like, can we please tour with you? Even for like 5 shows. I think it was a short tour. But because POD had clout, they got on this festival. And my band couldn't because we're so small.
Right.
And we had a van, and they had a tour bus. And I was like, my daughter's all over me. Can I ride with you in your bus to go to your show? Korn's playing. And I actually was talking to the bass player at that time, and we just said, screw it. And we went to the show. We watched some bands. I wasn't even going to connect with anybody in Korn besides the guy I was talking to. But it ends up I reconcile with all of them.
Man, what was that moment like? Tell me about it.
It was a trip because when I left the band, it was more like, me and the guitar player, we started guitar together. I started a little bit before him. I actually encouraged him to play electric because he was playing acoustic. So we got history where he's looking at me play this, this old 80s metal stuff going, whoa.
Was this the band LAPD or Creed?
No, it was way before that.
Before
it was
that.
like, I'm talking like barely got through puberty.
Okay.
When I left the band, I've known him since then, like 13, 14 years old. When I left the band, it was like we were guitar twins. We did everything together. We played off each other. So it was like two twins, ripping apart.
Yeah.
And there was some stuff said in the press. I said some stuff. I did it first. So I'll take the blame. And then he said some stuff. So it was just bitterness. So they got us together that day at the festival, and there was never going to be any like physical, nothing happened to us. But a couple of the guys were like, "What if we put them both in a bus and no one's in there? What's going to happen?"
Cage fight.
Yeah, but we're not that type of personality.
Yeah.
So it was just like hug it out.
Yep.
He looks at my daughter. He hadn't seen her since she was a baby, and he's looking at us, and he told me, he goes, "Seeing it's funny." He says, "Seeing your eyes, looking into your eyes, just everything makes sense." After all the bitterness, all the drama, the talking smack back and forth, whatever. He's like, I see why you had to leave now. And it just, he had like a understanding, a revelation.
Wow.
They ended up asking me to do the autograph signing with the fans. I went and did it. It was funny because a couple of them didn't know who I was. They were like, just new fans,
Yeah.
or like radio winners that didn't
right.
really know band members. But, and then I just wanted to go there incognito and just kind of, let my daughter see some bands and then bounce. But next thing you know, they asked me to play on stage, and I ended up playing on stage. And singer Jonathan broke down after I played with them and cried, and was like, told the audience I need a second.
Wow.
And he after the show, he just hugged me and said, "If we never do anything together, thanks for giving me that last memory." Because it wasn't the original drummer, but all of us who stood in the front, banged our dreadlocks,
Yep.
that was us. And he was like, "Thank you for giving me that last memory."
Man.
And then they asked me to come back a little bit, 2-3 weeks later. That's when I was like, got confused because my story was left the fame, left the money, followed Christ to, a more humble place where I didn't care about that stuff.
Yeah.
So I had to break this religious mindset, thinking like, that was my whole story. I wrote a book about it, right?
Right.
I'm like, Lord, I can't do that. That's like that's not my story. And then
It's part of your story.
exactly, but I didn't know that because of the religious mind.
Yeah. It's not the end of your story, but it's part of it.
Because I knew if I went back, everyone was going to say, he wasn't real the whole time. And he just, wanted Jesus to help him get clean. Now he's going back to the fame and money. Dog returns to his vomit, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And then I started feeling like it was meant to be, like God was leading me to it. And then I'm like, Lord, you're going to ruin my testimony. Do you know what you're doing?
That's funny. That's so honest. I love it.
So I ended up I just felt it. I had people I trusted, I talked to, and I just felt it in my heart, So I went for it.
Man.
And yeah, that was it, 2012.
So like when you talked to the guys, did it come up like the whole, I'm coming back, but I'm not the same guy. Like this is like the Christian side of things is something you're bringing with you. Were they cool with that?
Well, they were totally cool with it. They were just like, everyone's getting older and wiser. And the things like that don't matter as much when you're not when your ego's not, 25, 30, 35 years old, because a 35-year-old rock star is like a 20-year-old emotional, But they start growing up and you're 40, and it's just, you just look at life different. Everybody was just like, dude, we're older now. Who cares? If that helps you, then awesome. If someone like has some wine after the show, big deal. If I want to go pray for people, big deal. I'm not like shoving it down people's faces. And at Korn shows, obviously Korn is Korn, and it's just a band, that's playing music. So it was a balance, and people, they knew what I was all about. So they wouldn't ask me to come back if they weren't okay with it,
Right. Where did you find your purpose once you kind of came back? Like what did you feel like God was, like, what were you passionate about doing, being back there, like reason, purpose, that type of thing?
Just to show people the unreligious, like Christ, the God that loves them, because what we knew of Christians were just the ones on TV wanting money, and the ones outside of our concerts saying Korn is of the devil.
Yeah.
You're going to go to hell, and all that. And so that's definitely Antichrist.
Mm-hmm.
It's crazy because they're holding up a Bible and they're preaching, but they're the Antichrist to me. That's a form of an Antichrist. They're not showing love of God, mercy of God, the love of Jesus. And just like, I just wanted to show people that, everybody's welcome to the table.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody is. And that, he's not just out to get you.
Yeah.
He's out to love you. He wants to make you the best version of yourself you've ever been. And look at me, look at my life. I just want to go there, go back to Korn and show my fans my life. Gosh, everything is better. Every single thing is better. And it's a story to them. It's a testimony to them. It's a message to them that you can have this too.
Yeah, that Christian rocker we were talking about earlier, Mylon Lefevre, that just passed away. Mylon, going to his memorial on Wednesday, but he used to call me before each movie, and he would end, and he would just simplify it down to something so profound but simple. But he's like, Andy, don't overcomplicate it. Your only job is to remind these people that they're desperately loved by God. That's it.
Right.
And so it just makes it so, like, I'm not here to have to, like, I'm a filmmaker, very simple-minded storyteller. Like, and the simple story is it's redemption. It's redemption. God loves you, and there's a better way. And like, there's just something so pure about that. It is good news to people.
Yeah.
When you take all the religiosity out of it, it's just about Jesus. For you, like, what opportunities present itself as far as like interaction with fans, conversations, or even like, I know you've even had some profound experiences with, like, band members and singers from other bands that are well known. So like you've had some impact there. Like, what's it been like for you?
Oh, it's all over the place. It's like I couldn't even keep up with the stories. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's not every single day, but like every single tour, there's like, oh my gosh, this happened, this happened, this happened, this happened. But yeah, I'd say it's a lot of people ask about like the other bands and people in my band and stuff, and that would be less. I think it's just, I think the scripture is so clear that like the least of these, those who are least are the greatest. Mm-hmm. Jesus talks about, it's the opposite of what the earth is like. So God's heart from day one for me was about the fans and not the people on the stage. More. He's for everybody, but I've seen the most impact with them.
That's cool.
And I remember when Chester Bennington died right after Chris Cornell.
Yep.
On Chris's birthday, and everyone's like, "This has never happened. This is crazy." It was the darkest feeling. I remember my friends came out, and I was just like broken, and because we have so much history with those guys, and
sure,
and we had this guy. I gathered some fans, and I was just talking to him about my story and everything. And this guy grabs my friend and he pulls him aside. He's just walking by. He wasn't even picked or part of everybody. And he hears me talking and he pulls my friend aside and says, he's what that Korn guy is saying is that, do you guys really believe in that stuff? And he goes, yeah, man, totally. He starts talking to him. And the guy's like, well, this was my last concert I was going to come to. I was going to kill myself after this concert.
Wow.
And he pulls out a suicide note and he gives it to him. My friend just reads it. And he goes, I think this is a sign.
Man.
And gives his life to the Lord. Not only that, and you got to understand, this is right in the middle of these suicides, you know.
Man.
The next night, because we played, that was Jersey, and the next night was like, whatever, it was 2 hours away, so close, the shows. The next night, I have this mental health platform come, and they're like, well, I want to do an interview with you about, you know, how you came out of addiction to mental health issues and stuff. And so I do the interview. The camera guy messages us on Facebook and says, I have a plan to take my life and I need to talk.
Man.
And like 2 people in that week that Chester passed away.
Man.
And
Powerful.
It was like, right? Powerful. And a lot of other stuff too. There's this one drunk guy. I love this story. He was just wasted, and I gathered some fans, you know, I was telling him my story, and he goes, you mean this stuff is real? He goes, my mom's been telling me about Jesus since I was a kid. I never wanted anything to do with it. And I go, bro, we're at a Korn Slipknot concert. Prepare for Hell tour, it was called. Do you think that I would be speaking to you guys about Christ if it wasn't real? I go, do you think it's popular? You're yelling at me to stop. You know, when I start, I go, this is the most realist thing that I've ever experienced. That's why I left the band for a while, you know, because why would any person in their right mind leave being a rock star? You know, it was because it was real.
You know, I got to go to Israel this year, and
Oh, really?
And while I was there, I went and the place where Peter tells Jesus that you're the Christ, and Jesus says, you know, on this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it.
Yeah.
Like the thing that happened, it happened in front of the temple for God, the god Pan, which was one of their gods of the underworld. But it was like this big cave that they said was a portal to the underworld. So like Jesus was literally standing at like the gates of hell when he said that. It was like a mic drop moment.
That's crazy, right?
So,
I've heard that before.
So like the idea of like gates are not like a offensive weapon. Nobody chases you down and attacks you with a gate. Like gates are meant to be stormed.
Come
And
on,
so
I love that.
So the idea that you have to be on the offensive, you have to be in enemy territory to kind of make an impact. Like that's what I hear when I hear a story like that. It's so cool.
It's like the craziest, darkest. It's just like we talked about, like Paul helping to kill Christians, and then the lights come on, and you know, there's dark lives out there and dark situations that are very redeemable. God is not afraid of the crazy dark sins that people do, and he's not afraid of any mess in anybody's life.
Yep.
He's just like not shocked.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yep.
You know, he's just right there waiting to help. He just wants to help.
Dude.
You know?
I love it. Well, that's what I love about your story is I like people that have that authenticity to their journey, to the stories that they tell, that it's there not because they think it'll sell. It's there because it changed their life and they believe it's true.
My gosh.
And you're one of those. Like I just sit and just like, you know, time passes so fast when I'm listening to your stories. I love that about you.
Thank you, man. And look, if you're not real to this generation,
Yeah.
they'll smell a phony so quick.
They will.
And so you gotta be real.
Yep.
And that's all. I'm just real. Like, and I don't care. Honestly, like my favorite place is like not being in the spotlight now. It's like being alone and just intimacy with God, and he'll keep using me, you know. But it was crazy. Just one last thing, when I was wanting to be the Christian artist, and it was like I wanted it so bad. Praying like, I want this record deal to go through. I want to record a video. I want to get this album out. And it just wouldn't happen. And I came to this place where somebody was like, maybe you're too like, you're grabbing it too tight, you know, like that song, Hold On Loosely.
Yeah.
You know, if you cling too tight, you're going to lose control. And so once I learned, it took months, maybe a year to let go. And I was like, all right, God, I don't care. And then I started going into just like reading the Bible more and becoming intimate with God and everything. And just once I got to that place where I was like, this is where I want to be. I don't even care if I do anything anymore. You know, then God's like, you're ready. Now you're ready. When you don't want it as much, now he opens the doors. And I'm like, but I love that season where it was just quiet. You know, so it's a beautiful thing when you just, I guess some people call it laying it down, you know, at the altar or whatever. You lay your dreams, desires down and just walk away, and God will give you back what he wants to give you back.
And I can attest to the fact that authenticity is for real in you. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Fun thing to end on, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. I was at the theater. I texted you after, but I'm watching Guardians of the Galaxy 3.
Oh, yeah.
It gets to the end, and that little extra scene at the end, spoiler alert, sorry for anybody that hadn't seen it, but they're going through and talking through the other bands that are on the playlist to consider from the 2000s for Peter Quill's playlist or whatever.
Yeah.
And then he lists off, they list off Korn. And I'm like, you just got a shout out from Guardians of the Galaxy. Like, it was pretty surreal. It was a lot of fun.
Nobody knew it. Like, I got texts from you and a couple other friends, but nobody told us, hey, Korn's management or record label, we're going to give you a shout on this new blockbuster Marvel movie. Nothing. It was like, they just said it.
It was great.
It was like, one of them said, I like Korn. The other one's like, Britney Spears. No, it was the little girl, right? I like Korn and Britney Spears.
Yep.
So I was like, it was such a, it was so cool to wake up to that, and it just these cool little moments. It was like Barack Obama was honoring a wounded veteran back in the day. We woke up to news that he's talking about Korn honoring this veteran. It was a moment like that. It was like he was president of the United States and talking about my band.
That's cool.
It's cool, right?
That's cool.
It's just cool moments in life.
For you, top 3 movies and that you like that are your movies that you enjoy, and is there one of them on the list that would surprise people?
I can only imagine. Nice. Jesus Revolution.
Okay. Well, I'll pay you money later. That's great.
I really like, dude. I'm just gonna be honest. This movie, Prisoner.
Oh, that's a good one.
Jake,
man.
How you say his name?
Jake Gyllenhaal.
Yeah,
and Hugh Jackman. I just watched that for the first time this year. That was intense.
You watched it for the first time?
Yeah, I did. Somebody told me, they were like, you got to see it. And I watched it.
Bro,
and
emotional roller coaster.
Oh man,
right?
I was a wreck as a dad. I went home and locked all the doors. I was like, everybody, we're staying inside.
But like, it was like, wow, how far would you go?
I know, just for your kid.
To break the law
for your
kid to get your kid back.
Yeah.
When the whew.
Yeah.
I like movies
that
like
was intense.
Dude, Benjamin Button was like, that was just a groundbreaking movie. You know? Like I love that. Like I love epics like Forrest Gump and stuff. Where you just when you leave the theater, you're like, I felt something.
So
powerful.
So Gary Sinise, that was in Forrest Gump, is one of my mentors.
It had heart.
It did.
It made you feel
tons
something.
of heart.
And it was a little quirky, and had some comedy in there, but it was like it made you feel something special. Wow.
But yeah, man. Well, one oddball to another.
Yes,
you rock.
The oddball twins.
I always love talking to you and love our conversations, and I love your heart, bro.
Thank you.
Thanks for being on the Storytellers.
It's good to see you, man. I know we're both crazy busy, so hope to see you soon again.
I love you, bro.
Yeah, you too, man.
The thing that comes to mind with Brian's story that really stands out to me as a storyteller is the idea of laying it all down. For him to get to that point in his career where he was willing to lay down the fame and all those things that he chased for so many years, to lay it down and walk away and be like, I'm good. I don't need that anymore. And then have God give it back to him just on purpose and for a different reason. And for him to go back to the band and go back to the touring life, but to do it as an opportunity to spread the gospel and tell people about his redemption story with Jesus. Like, that is amazing to see how God doesn't waste any of the pain, doesn't waste any of the journey. And when you lay it down, sometimes you get it back in an unexpected way that gives you your story. And so just want to thank Brian for sharing that with us today, for letting us be a part of that and just letting us have a good time. Love that guy. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you on the next episode.
The Storytellers is a Kingdom Story Company production. It is produced by Nick Carey with production assistance from Ben and Justin Bailey. Our executive producers are Kevin Downs and Brandon Gregory. Social media for the show is run by the team at Troops and Allies, and our music is Twisted Rooster by Tommy Profit. Special thanks to Jaron Weatherly, Evan Johnston, and our entire team at Kingdom Story Company. We have so many exciting guests coming up this season. To ensure you don't miss any of them, subscribe to The Storytellers for free on YouTube at Kingdom Story Company or wherever you listen to podcasts. For exclusive first looks at our upcoming films, behind-the-scenes content, and invitations to advanced screenings, join the conversation as a Kingdom Insider at kingdomstorycompany.com and follow us at Kingdom Story Company across all platforms. As always, thanks for joining Andrew Erwin and his friends on The Storytellers.